Hey everybody, it's Norm from Tested.
And it's Jeremy from Tested.
And welcome back to Projections, where this week we're going to be reviewing a location-based VR experience, a new one that just opened in San Jose, California.
These are cool because this is what you can't do at home yet, right? This is what you can't do because these are the real-world spaces where you wear a VR headset and you walk into a space that is built out of whatever they want, 2x4s, cardboard, drawers that don't have to look real in reality, but they can skin it in VR and actually create an experience that is tactile, in addition to being a virtual reality that you can see.
Yeah, and this comes from the company called Spaces. They're one of a bunch of LBEs that we've seen before, from the Void to Zero Latency, and all of these have something in common. They actually build out a stage, they call it, at a physical location, whether it's at a mall or in this case in partnership with a movie theater chain, Cinemark, and it's almost like an attraction at a theme park.
So they'll take over a part of the lobby in movie theaters, and when you go to see a film, you can also go a little bit early, and the idea is you can do this LBE, is that right?
It makes total sense, right? The location is already there. Millions of people go through movie theaters every year, and they have that space, so why not partner with a VR company? And other companies have done this, where they've built up kiosks with some stanchions. IMAX experimented with it a while ago, but this seems to be a real heavy investment because there are walls built up. It really is like the entrance to a Disney park ride.
So it's based on Terminator, is that right?
That's right. This game is Terminator Fight for the Future, based on the Terminator Salvation franchise, and it's a shooter. So 4 people go in at once, and you put on the headsets. You actually put on a bunch of off-the-shelf gear. It's an Oculus headset. You have the Hard Light VR, kind of tactile feedback vest. You're wearing an HP Voodoo computer on your backpack with a battery pack, which they call an ammo pack. And then you have a physical gun model that's also tracked that you have as well.
And they give that to you in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
And then also tracking pucks on your feet and your hands.
So you have hand and feet tracking?
You have hand and feet tracking.
That sounds very similar to the Void.
Yes.
So how big is the space? I assume if they're taking over part of the lobby, they can't make it as big as they want. I mean, they have to consider how much space they're going to have in all the theaters that they could possibly be in.
So they call these stages, they have 2 of these stages set up. They're actually literally side by side. I was able to go through and check it out, take off the headset and walk around it. It's not that big at all. It's actually about the size of this room we're in. So
that's
maybe
sizable.
Yeah, 15 feet by maybe 20, 25 feet or so.
Okay.
Think of it as the top of a rooftop building, a building of rooftop, because that's where the action takes place. And they do things like they have an elevator scene, right? So you all 4 people get onto a platform, you elevate up to a transport ship, drop down on top of a rooftop, get off of the platform.
Is it the kind of thing where the platform's actually just rumbling?
Yes, rumbling. Which is convincing enough. Yeah. And then you fire at the Terminators, and then there are objects that are tracked as well. You pick up a battery pack or some type of object that's glowing in the world, and you need to connect it. At one point, I'm holding up a lever, so like I'm defending while holding the shield up, moving some satellite dishes around. So a few interactive objects as well.
How long is it?
It's about 15 minutes as a part of the shooting experience, and then also about 15 minutes to suit up and go through onboarding as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Spaces is they also do facial, not tracking, but facial mapping.
I've seen the trailer, and I was not sold on this initially. Is that what it seems to me like? They take a picture of you during the sign-in process, and then they map that onto the front of your skin, like where your face would be. Yes. Is it supposed to look like your face in the game?
It's supposed to be kind of like you took a cell phone picture of your face. Because as you're signing in the lobby, as you're registering, putting in your email, you're on these iPads, and the iPads have front-facing cameras, which you can have a 3D model of your face. You take a picture, you can preview the model, and they literally just graph that on to this Terminator body.
But it doesn't animate, right?
It does not animate. Okay. And it's so you can recognize who you're interacting with.
Right, okay, so when I've done the Void, I did the Star Wars one, I chose a color. And so people in the game world, they knew I was the yellow Stormtrooper. So this is a little bit easier in order to discern who's who.
Absolutely, and the other company we've tried, Zero Latency, you type in your name, you have floating names up, another multiplayer game. So 3 different ways to identify the person you're playing with in the game, whether it's the color of your backpack, a name floating above you, or in this case, an image of your face. Uncanny Valley, totally in the Uncanny Valley, but right on your face. But it worked. It let me recognize the person I was talking to. Oh, I'm talking to Jeremy. Oh, I'm talking to this person, without having to look up a name. It became a little more intuitive that way. It's not supposed to be photorealistic. It's not supposed to be animated.
And my question still is it supposed to be your face, or is it supposed to be a marker for who you are? Could it be floating above your head and serve the same purpose?
I think being on the face works for communication.
Okay.
Because then I'm looking at that face and talking, and of course they're using the microphones built into the headsets, the headphones, so you hear them there.
Right. And you still think of it as a marker rather than a mapped face.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I guess in the lore of Terminator, you are an endoskeleton with the face on. So you actually shoot the face off, and it peels off.
Oh.
And then it comes back in.
How Silence of the Lambs. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The whole thing, like I said, about 15 minutes. It goes by pretty quickly. I had fun. It's basically a shooting gallery, and they don't take themselves very seriously in the fact that it's a shooting gallery. You're going for points. You're shooting you're shooting each other.
Cooperative? No.
It's cooperative. It's cooperative. I mean, you can shoot each other, and things will you get effects. Everything onto even the onboarding process. The attendant is in VR too. You can see an avatar of the attendant.
How are they tracked?
They are wearing tracking markers, and they are in VR.
But they're not wearing a headset.
They put on the headset when you go in to hand you the guns.
Huh.
And so they really go full on in VR. And I think they know that a bunch of people trying this will be maybe one of their first few times in VR. So they do all the fun tricks, from a plank walk to even when you're in the lobby gearing up, the floor is a piano, and then because your feet are tracked, they want you to dance around and like big and play their giant piano. Right. So even though it is a Terminator game, they're taking a lot of liberties and having fun with the game to maximize the amount of fun families can have in this. Well, I was also able to chat with the co-founder of Spaces about the tech, about how they think about location-based experiences while I was there. So let's go check that out. So tell me where Spaces started off from.
So Spaces actually formed out of a company created by Shiraz Akmal and myself, and we started actually at DreamWorks. So we were at DreamWorks for 3 years working on innovating in VR, location-based, doing attractions like How to Train Your Dragon and taking that on tour to Comic-Con, and really trying to push the bounds of what you can do with immersive VR storytelling. And we sat down with Jeffrey Katzenberg and with Lincoln Wallen at DreamWorks and to see if, what's the right way to take this stuff forward? And the way we got to do that was actually spin out and create our own company.
So as a company, it sounds like you work with studios to take their properties and create immersive experiences based on their stories, their characters they've created?
Exactly. So we as a company come from IP-based attractions and media. So I've worked in the visual effects and film industry for my whole career. My co-founder Shiraz has worked in the games industry, directing games like SpongeBob and working on the Pixar games. So we really care a lot about these characters and making great stories and bringing them in a new way for people to experience.
Give me a sense of what location-based VR, where is that right now? VR's been around, the Oculus Rift's been out for years now. We've seen theme parks dabble in VR, adapting existing rides, building out new physical spaces for them. Where is LBE right now?
So location-based is in a great spot right now, actually. So you have everything from like the Lupin the Third coaster that is at Universal Studios Japan, all the way to attractions that we're building like this Spaces Center, where we have interchangeable content, things that are going to come in and bringing great IP like Terminator to the stage. So the thing that we love about location-based VR is that people at home don't have to buy all this equipment and gear. They can come in, they can buy a ticket, and they can come in and have an amazing experience. And actually, we view ourselves as ambassadors to VR in general. We want people to have their first experience, their second and third experience here at a Spaces Center, and have it be a great one. We want people to come out of this saying, hey, this VR thing really is great. I actually want to go out and buy something.
So as you're developing what this looks like, are you talking to theme park companies? Are you talking to other locations? How do you, Spaces as a company, how do you guys look at what the actual places where you want to be?
So it's a combination of things. We're lucky enough to have Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, to be one of our investors. So we're big fans of the Universal parks. And I, in the past, have had the luxury of working for Disney and working on Disney attractions. So we're very cognizant of what's going on in the theme park space. On the LBE, like installation space like these, we look at the same demographics that everybody does of where are there people? Where are there people that want to do great and have things and have a lot of fun? So for us, we opened up in Southern California at the Irvine Spectrum. That's one of the most popular malls there is in the country, just huge foot traffic. and they really wanted to bring more entertainment to that location. So we were a really great fit to go in there and build out in that location. Cinemark as a company is really trying to innovate and do really big new things, and we're really excited to be a part of that as well.
So in your testing, your research, the difference between being in a theme park, in a mall, kind of a storefront, and it being a part of a theater lobby essentially must be different types of traffic, different experiences. What's the messaging to people? Like, is it while you wait for a movie to play, while you wait for the ticket, you come early and do this, or is this the destination?
So our goal is to be a destination. We certainly see that over time that will occur. However, it's reasonable to say there's already people coming here for entertainment. They're looking for additional things to do and things to do here in this mall. We're an additional entertainment option for them. They can buy tickets online just like they would to a movie and come play here at our location. But we view it as a synergistic partnership.
It's a big installation, it's a big setup. Like, this is all custom furniture, there's like custom rooms built in the back, right? It's a lot of investment put in, but also in the technology as well. So as a CTO, as you look at the field of what VR has to offer, how do you pick and choose what's going to work best for the type of experiences you want to develop?
Well, for us, we're about premium experiences. You know, we love that there are VR arcades out there and we want them to succeed. We love that there's other types of attractions and things out there. We're about delivering an experience that you literally can't have at home. From our custom fabricated trackers to the haptic vests and haptic props and things we have, you're not going to have this equipment in a small location. It's just not a practical option for pretty much anybody. And we're okay with that. That's where we come in and fit in the market of a great place you can go and have fun. You know, it's funny, one of the really great analogies for location-based entertainment is actually bowling. You know, bowling is something that you have to go somewhere and go do. There's equipment that you might buy and kind of have at home, but you're not generally going to have a bowling alley at home. It's something you can do with friends, something that works well for birthday parties, and it's something that also has like competitive and leagues and things like that. And that's really the direction we're trying to help push location-based entertainment VR into.
Like, you talked about hand trackers, there's a haptic vest that you put on from Hardlight or Zoom, and you have partners in those spaces. How do you pick and choose whether you have things like, you know, finger tracking or things like wireless tethering versus a backpack? How are those decisions made?
So from a deep technical standpoint, it comes down to what is the best option and most reliable option on the day, as well as where do we see the roadmap of where things are going. I love wireless VR. I would love to go to the point where we don't have the backpacks, but unfortunately with wireless spectrum the way it is today, you literally can't have enough backpacks in an attraction to actually be able to do it. So currently under the way the FCC is working, you can have 3.
Right.
That's what it is. We have a 4 or more player game and we have multiple stages here. So we need a lot more than 3. So we can't use those types of wireless today. However, we're certainly working with our partners that are working hard on 5G because that actually would allow for us to do things like that. So we're constantly innovating and really trying to push that bleeding edge of tech, but we also want to make sure we can deliver a good, reliable, and premium experience today. And today that means strapping an HP backpack on your back with an NVIDIA 1080 card that you're lugging around. Thankfully, they're actually still pretty light. They're lighter than most laptops, so we're pretty happy with how that all came together. But we certainly envision the future of where things like 5G can take us.
Talk about the IP then. Like how did you guys land on Terminator Salvation? Like, why did that work with the type of hardware you have, and how did that design the type of gameplay you have?
So our gameplay is really around somewhere between a shooter and a puzzle room. You know, a little bit of escape room and a little bit of shooter and then a lot of narrative. The reason that we focused on doing things that way was we wanted everyone to have a great experience. We did a lot of testing from things where it was just like you could completely fail and lose. We did testing where it was, you know, a much tougher puzzles. And what we found is that different people have certainly different reactions, so we had to like go for the middle where it was good for everybody. And some people are like, well, hey, that puzzle wasn't too hard. And I'm like, you'd think that, but we've seen people spend 15 minutes trying to solve that too.
To grab the one tube and put it in the place.
Well, for instance, we didn't used to even show hints. Like there was a point where we didn't have any hint things, and people would literally be like pulling up the furniture trying to find the thing that we thought was pretty obvious over here on the side. So from an operational standpoint, we're like, no, we actually have to start popping up visual hints. In the world of Terminator, it's your Terminator Vision that shows you where those are. Terminator as an IP for us is a wonderful brand. There's new films coming out. It is a really fun intellectual property that features action, it features adventure, it features great characters, and for us it was a pretty natural choice to say, hey, this would be amazing in VR. And we also are the only ones that have anything out there with it in VR. So it's not oversaturated. Like the only way you can do a Terminator VR experience is come to a Spaces Center.
Now, how easy or difficult is it for you guys to overhaul if you want to build a new game from scratch? What are the parameters you're working with? Is it a certain set dimensions that your games always have to fit in, a certain list of interaction models that you can work with, from the mist to the heat to the grabbable objects? Like, from a design perspective, what are the things you can play with?
So we have a software SDK that allows us and third-party developers who want to work with us to actually bring their games to our stages and our environments. With that, we do have a framework that says, well, these are the physical capabilities, these are how many players you can have, this is things like our Spaces Faces and face scanning, this is how that integrates into the game, and we pull all those things together with those lists of haptics that we have, and then we've designed the stage to be reasonably modular. It's designed so that we can also open it up. So right now, people are typically playing 4 players together in co-op. But the nice thing is, the way we've designed it is 4v4 PvP. There's a number of like team-based things that are coming that we're really excited about as well, that are all fit in that same framework and are very easy to change over. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we love industrial design. We like designing and making things. So like the props that you use are all things that we designed in-house and we built and assembled and 3D printed, and those are relatively easy for us to make new ones, to make new things that we can use and interact with that have this like great tactile feel.
Do you have designers in-house that are chomping at the bit to make the difficult escape room that only veteran VR people really want to challenge themselves with?
We do. Some of our designers on the game side really want to go like hardcore on puzzles and make it a really complicated thing to get out of. On our industrial design side, they really want like interlocking mechanisms and things that you can like really like have to push and pull. And then on our operations team, they're the ones who come back and say, okay, but we still need to move this many hundreds of people through a day. We still need to have everybody have a good time and good experience. And what are those operational pieces to it? And then we also have, as part of the ops team, is also our narrative pre-show. So we do very much take a cue from the theme park industry of, as soon as you go back, you're in the world. Like, it's a very immersive, we use actors instead of just regular cast members, that people that try to bring a lot of energy and fun to the experience, and we love that. Like, fundamentally, we're about having fun. We're a company that is really just about, we want people to come in here and leave with a smile, and that's what makes me want to do this. It's
I
a
love
lot
that
of fun.
It's not taken too seriously,
Yeah.
from in the lobby to the avatars that you have. Even the handlers have avatars, the piano on the floor. Just a lot of just playfulness to it. I really like it.
Thank you. Like I said, we try to be a little less like grim, in-your-face serious than some of the other things that are out there. This is about people wanting to actually have fun with families. Like, I'm a parent. My wife and I have 3 wonderful, amazing kids who've been doing VR since they were like 2. And my daughter's actually working on her first game. She's actually completely designing, she's 8 and coding her own game in C#. And she wants to bring it to Spaces Center. So we'll see, but it's very much her creativity and imagination. But for me, it's getting to do things like that with my family, bringing them here, and everybody suiting up and going on a mission and doing a thing together. And it's kind of the opposite of screen time in a way. Like, there's technology certainly involved, but we're not all independently looking at something away from each other. We're collaboratively doing a thing together.
Well, the Terminator Salvation experience, you guys are launching it now in Cinemark Theater here in
Yep.
San Jose. But a year from now, you guys are clearly in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
How many different types of experiences can we expect? What does Spaces look like a year or 2 years from now?
So we have a variety of experiences that are in development right now, and we're going to be excited to bring those to our locations in Tokyo, in Irvine, here in San Jose, and to the new locations we're opening up around the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right, Norm, so where does this sit in the pantheon of LBEs that we've tried? Is it the new high bar? Is it somewhere in the middle?
I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I don't think it's as ambitious as what the Void's doing with corridors and a big narrative.
Is that a matter of how much square footage they have to work with?
And just the design they have.
Okay.
Right? This is definitely more the shooting gallery end of that. There's no redirected walking. Even with the zero latency stuff, that was many more players. You're moving through platforms. Here, and could be a software problem. I do like that they're in theaters, because this potentially could open VR up to just a bigger audience, people who are curious about VR. I just don't know who their target audience is. Do they want to get you and me, VR enthusiasts, going back every month trying to beat our high score or trying out new experiences.
That's a big ask. You said it was how much?
It's $20 to $30 on weekends
Right.
for about 15 minutes of game time. Or are they more interested in the mass market? Do they care about just people trying it once or maybe twice, but many more people because those are the people already going to theaters and maybe waiting for their next showing? So I don't know who benefits more from this. Is it the theater chain for making their theater chain a little more modern and high tech and giving people another thing to do there, like when theaters used to have arcades in the lobbies? Or is it the Spaces folks who are taking advantage of the theater chain because of the throughput of the traffic? Or is it going to work to both their advantage?
I have a feeling a lot's going to come down to that $20 to $30. Even $20 is a lot to ask. It is not the same as going to an arcade. When you go to an arcade, you think, okay, maybe $5.
Right,
You know,
right.
and if they could have that kind of a buy-in, then I think they'd have a much easier time getting people to do it. Maybe that requires cheaper headsets, less infrastructure. Maybe it needs to be funded in part with a partnership. I don't know. But if they could do it at that price point, I could certainly see people giving it a shot. $20 is a lot. Although I will say, if the experience is good enough,
Yes.
there are people who go back to the Void and try to play it in different ways. And that's also an interesting point is, have they designed the game so that you can go back and play it in different ways? Are there different ways to solve puzzles? Are there different ways to approach it? Can you do stealth? Can you do run and gun?
I think replayability here is just about high score.
Okay.
And so the people they talk about being the repeat customers are going back because they want to play with friends and get that high score.
So it's laser tag.
Exactly, laser tag.
But
which is,
co-op.
Exactly, like at that price point, which is the same thing that the zero latency folks are doing as well. Like I would hope that they can open up this platform to other game developers who want to take advantage of physical space and design escape rooms, design other interesting multiplayer VR things, and not have to worry about the haptics, the onboarding, all the hardware side of it, all the tech part of it.
Tracking.
Or the tracking. Make the game and partner with a company like Spaces so you can go almost like they've built the theater, now design the movie, design the play for fans of VR to go and try out once in a while.
On the LBE front, I have a feeling that the Oculus Quest is going to be a beginning point for end users to be able to create their own style LBEs. Maybe they just around their house, or they could do it around a structure and maybe sell it on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have very expensive infrastructure. And Oculus showed at Oculus Connect that they could do Dead and Buried with 6 players in a big, LBE style experience, and all of your infrastructure is built into a $400 headset. I mean, that could be the beginning of something that's not relegated to big budget companies and movie theater lobbies.
But what you can't do with that is tracked objects. Like here, they've custom 3D printed and fabricated things, tiny things that are part of the puzzle of the game. They've done things like water effects and heat effects.
Right.
And that requires a little more R&D.
We don't know yet. I mean, the Oculus Touch controllers that will come with it have a Constellation-style system on them. I mean, it's possible, maybe, you'll be able to implement the same kind of tracking in objects that are battery-powered. We'll see.
What was interesting also to learn is that even though they have the tech to track objects and to do a lot of these things that are interactive, people don't respond to it because they don't believe that it can be tracked. They had to augment, the glow around the object. You can pick that up. You can interact with that thing because most people don't know. They just assume they got to stand back and fire.
Heck, most people don't even know they can turn their head.
And a lot of people who are used to VR, because of how they've experienced it at home, they don't want to walk around because they feel like if I walk around, I break the system. And this doesn't break the system. You're encouraged to actually explore the space.
And that's the magic. I mean, at this point in time, LBEs do offer something you can't do at home, and I love them for that reason. They are a VR killer app in some senses. Everyone that I've tried has been really sweet because you can't get it anywhere else.
Yeah. Something you can try at home is an update to the Oculus Go in the Rooms application where you and I and other people can drop in and play some casual games, including Boggle and now
Monopoly Deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's not just straight up Monopoly, people. A lot of people were wondering if that's what it was going to be. No, it's a totally different game, but a real card game that exists. You can go buy it on Amazon or no longer Toys R Us, but you can get it on shelves. Monopoly Deal is a card game where it's basically a condensed version of Monopoly. You can have 4 players sitting in the Rooms app in Oculus, and any of them can be bots. Any of them can be humans. You invite them to your space, And as we know, the Rooms app is really well done. It's got positional audio, so you can hear people wherever they're sitting around the table or in the other rooms. You can have music playing over on your entertainment system or a video playing, and then you go to your game room or game section of the room, and you load it up. And everyone gets their cards dealt to them. The way this game works is you get 2 cards every time it comes around to be your turn. Maybe one of them is money to put in the bank. Maybe it's a property to build. Maybe it's charge someone else rent. You can play 3 cards. After 3, your turn's over. And the idea is to build 3 high rises, essentially.
Right. Get a set, just like in Monopoly, how you would own all of one color block.
Right.
The animations are great. The level of polish for this game is really up there.
I mean, and it's free, so you can't argue with the price.
Yeah, the only thing is that we played a couple games. We had one long game, and it just killed the Go's battery life.
Oh my gosh. I went from 80% to low battery warning within our game. I mean, I don't know why that is. I wasn't even playing music on the entertainment system, but there's a lot going on, streaming the game for multiplayer, mobile headset, so that really drains the battery life.
We know a social application like this is going to be really important for mobile devices and things like the Quest when that comes out, but battery life is our biggest concern. Because if Facebook, if HTC want people to be in VR for a long period of time, or mobile VR, you got to have it last longer than that 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh my gosh, I have my fears after seeing what the Go does on a multiplayer game like this with a Monopoly deal. There's a lot of people on Reddit and elsewhere who have shared pictures, and on Thingiverse, they've shared the designs themselves of how to mount batteries to the Go, right? Whether it's on the top strap or on the side, it's 3D printed mounts. You plug in your USB, and you've got an additional hour or 2. I mean, it might come to that, and that's not something Oculus actually recommends. You need a battery pack that can deliver enough power to keep things happy. But it is a solution, and it's one I fear might be in store for us in the Quest.
Well, I'm not less worried about the Quest because that one is USB-C at least, so you have more throughput and power.
That's true.
And so I'm going to get a battery pack and strap it to my hip and use that as a way to be in VR for a little longer.
That's probably a good solution. I mean, that's basically what
Magic
Leap does.
Yeah, exactly. The battery pack on your hip is the way to go. All right, also one other game just released, another known franchise. This is on the Rift.
Right.
It's Angry Birds for VR.
Angry Birds VR. So, I mean, what was this something that you saw coming? It is Angry Birds in virtual reality, but they made some twists. I was fascinated by it because it wasn't quite what I expected. For one, you are first-person slingshotter. You are not a bird. I wonder, like, how fun would that be to be the bird and fly through that space and feel that arc and see the impact? Maybe control your explosion if you're one of the bomb blackbirds somehow, like in first person. That might be interesting, and I would bet you that the developers tried that and decided that's too nauseating. We got to play it safe. So the direction that they went is the player holds the slingshot, then you pull it back and you let go, and the bird flies as if you were playing the mobile game.
Yep. And the thing it's flying at is some type of construct with the pigs on it that's maybe like 10 feet away from you in space, and you can teleport to different locations to see it from different angles. So it's really 3-dimensional, which I thought was cool.
That's also new, you're right. And you can move the slingshot in any direction, which is, of course, impossible on the traditional Angry Birds platform. So you can get angles from up top, down below, and interestingly, you can actually walk anywhere you want. And this is, I think, where it gets like unintentionally VR enabled, is that you can actually walk right up to the structures if you have the room scale in space to do it.
Right.
You can walk as far as you want. It doesn't do any kind of gating where it would go black if you walk through a virtual field or teleport you backwards. You can go anywhere you want.
Do you feel like you could use that to your advantage?
Oh, easily.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the pigs there, or
find that
analyze.
TNT box. Absolutely. Yeah, you can totally use it to your advantage.
I mean, at some point, this is it's a physics puzzle, right? The structures have physics, good real-world physics, where you're looking at weak points and watching this toppling, cascading effect. And it's later levels, it's not easy. Like, I've had to replay a bunch of levels a couple times.
You told me your rule for yourself was you were going to play until you had to replay a level 5 times.
Yep.
And you did that. And
right, the second world.
All right, that's it. And I also found one that I found really difficult. And it's, unfortunately, sometimes it's just a matter of doing it enough times because the physics are a little bit random.
Yeah.
So you never quite know exactly which way things are going to topple if you knock down one of those stanchions. There's also some interesting puzzles, there always have been in Angry Birds, where they've hidden a way to do it perfectly so that you can kill the whole structure with one bird. And there are those type of things here too. There's one level which I found was pretty cool. If you destroy one of the pieces of ice, it pulls a bridge down just enough for a boulder to roll down it, fall into a structure which is surrounded by rocks. You would have never gotten in there another way. TNT in the bottom blows everything out, and this cascading effect of killing all the birds. So if you can find those hidden puzzles, hidden ways that the developers wanted you to do it, that can be satisfying. It's also probably going to be satisfying to try to 3-star this game. I banged through all of the levels in an hour and a half, so it's not a ton of gameplay there, but I certainly didn't 3-star it. Yeah. And the developers have gotten the message that people want more content, and they have repeatedly said in the comments that there's more coming. So, it's $15.
Yeah, I say don't knock it. I know Angry Birds has this reputation of being an overused brand after its runaway success on mobile. This game, I think, would be fun even if it wasn't Angry Birds. I think the physics aspect of it is really fun to experience in VR. I wish I had 2 things. I wish I had multiplayer. I wish you and I could be in there.
How would that work?
Shooting. Taking turns, shooting.
It would be fun to be in there at all. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Exactly. Watching, sharing that experience of that cascading physics effects. And 2, a level generator or a level builder.
That would be fun, actually, because what's better than VR for building blocks and creating your own structures? I love that idea.
Yeah. So hopefully that's where the developers will take this. Just as Angry Birds was a killer app for iOS initially to really demonstrate that one-to-one movement, like this, I think it's a compelling use of VR, not a killer app.
No, it's not a killer app, but it's definitely something that people is definitely approachable, and I'm glad to see relevant, recognizable, familiar IP on the App Store, just so that people feel comfortable there. I mean, as we get towards a more mainstream kind of library on the App Store, I think people are going to be happy to see that.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this week. If there are games that you've been playing that you want to see us check out, let us know in the comments below. Or if you've even tried one of these location-based experiences, whether it's the Void, Zero Latency, or Spaces, let us know what you think of those as well. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.